Sifu, Boggie here, and welcome to the way of conscious mindfulness. So firstly, before we begin, who the heck am I and what's this show all about? Well, my name is Sifu Boggie. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who guides you along your path. Boggie is my martial art, it is my spiritual and healing name, and it means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. So for the last 37 years, I have been practicing arts like Qigong, Tai Chi, Chinese massage, Tuina, Titta, acupressure, many other different techniques, and in the form of the barefoot doctor, which is one ancient style in Taoism, and the Dragon Dog Shaman, which is another. I've been, like my Sifus before me, I have been helping healers, coaches, and light workers especially, but anybody who needs it, to supercharge themselves and ensure that they never burn out, which, as I said, is accordance to the Tao, which means the way, the path, the balance. So what is the way of conscious mindfulness? Well, it is a regular Facebook Live podcast show balancing spirituality with science with a blend of mind, body, and spirit. Now, and of course, with a Taoist twist. Again, what is the Tao? The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. Now, surprise, surprise, this isn't a normal show. Anything with me in it ain't normal. Each week, we either have a guest or a subject. Now, we have a very awesome guest tonight. The doctor is in the house. Pardon the pun. And our aim, our goal is to have an open discussion, helping us all find new techniques, new ways to balance our very own personal way, path, or Tao. So without further ado and a couple of clicks, I will bring on the gentleman himself. Good evening, Joe, or Dr. Joe. Good evening. How are you doing, sir?
Sifu Boggie, I'm fine, thank you, and thank you very much indeed for inviting me.
It's a pleasure and an honour, dear sir. It's definitely a pleasure and an honour. Go for it.
Shall I explain who I am?
Yeah, I was going to say, my first question for a change, stepping up a little bit. Firstly, who are you? Who are you? What do you do?
Well, my name's Dr. Joe Delaney, and before we start, it's clear I need to make clear that I'm not a doctor of medicine. I'm a doctor in medicine, and what that means is that I've actually done a PhD in medicine, and it took me 7 years to do this PhD. And really, my PhD was about how what goes on between your ears affects the rest of your body, especially at the level of the heart. So when people ask me, is there a title that you've got? I'm a consultant in psycho, neuro, endocrino, immunohematology. So it's quite simple, really. And what that means is psycho or psyche means mind and how our mind works, how the mind affects the brain, how the brain sends instructions via the nervous system to our endocrine glands, how the endocrine glands then secrete various biochemical substances and hormones, how those substances then flood the bloodstream and then impact upon the stem cell surfaces. Are you with me so far? The stem cell surfaces, and
yep.
depending on the amount of biochemical substances, that will determine how our stem cells express themselves. So the way I see it is the way that we think, the way that we process information sends information all the way through to our body. So it's almost like the invisible realms impact upon the physical realms. And then there's a feedback loop, in my mind at least, like the infinity symbol that gets down to earth. It comes down to earth, we take actions, and then it feeds back all the way back into the heavens. And my feeling is that, we're in constant communication with the heavens, and the heavens are in constant communication with us as well. How does that sound?
Cool. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's a It's well, it makes sense to me, and it's it's a good way to start the show. So, like I say, normally this next question is the first question. So this is your show, and so as being your show, and it is the show of Dr. Joe. So what is Joe? What is your way? What is your Tao? What is your way? Your path? Your balance?
Well, if I start off and give some history, my first career was in biomedical sciences. I left school early and I got a job in the local pathology department, washing test tubes. And I just loved every single minute of it. I was fascinated by how the body works, both male and female, right? How disease manifested. It just seemed to be some sort of natural inquisitiveness in me to look deeper and deeper and deeper. And what actually happened is, because I was so sort of enthusiastic about it, I passed the exams very, very quickly. And as a consequence, they promoted me very, very quickly and took me away from what I really loved into a more administrative role. And that sort of almost cut me off, if you like, from the sunlight of the spirit. And it led me into some sort of dead end, dead boring paperwork job, you know. And what I did to try and overcome this, because it was well paid, you know, I was seen as quite high in the establishment, but something had left me. And in order to replenish this sort of feeling of relaxation, enthusiasm, I started to drink a lot, right? And over the years, as the stress, as the anxiety, and as the years went on, the drink became more and more involved. And then as I tried to grit my teeth and get on with it so I could provide the wife and the children with the money they needed and all that sort of business, then I became exhausted then, you know. And so I found substances like smoking cigarettes used to stimulate me. I used to take handfuls of Pro Plus tablets. That, I don't know whether you know those, but they're like caffeine tablets. And I just used to swallow these down. Right. And so I was always in this sort of imbalance where I was trying to sort of medicate myself in order to carry on with the job that I was in. Anyway, after years and years and years of this, I became addicted to alcohol. I needed more and more and more and more to give me this sort of feeling of relaxation and release. But then when I woke up, I needed more and more stimulants. So I was always in a place where there was no balance. I was either up or down, you know, and I was using chemical substances of any sort, right, to try and get back that feeling of some sort of normality. And in the end, Sifu, what actually happened was I lost the job. I lost the wife and kids. I lost my liberty. I lost my home. I lost my driving license. And in the end, I became homeless. And for quite some time, I was just sort of wandering around like a lost soul. And I do believe that that's what I was, a lost soul. And then I made the first attempt to try and take my own life, you know, and obviously not successful, but quite a serious attempt. And what happened then was I was taken into a sort of almost like a bail hostel, like a rehabilitation center, and I sort of got back on my feet again. But as I was sort of exposed again to the outside world, all the old habits came back, and so I started to drink again, and I ended up in a sort of horrible little lonely old flat. And then I made a really, really serious attempt to do myself in. You know, I took loads and loads of tablets, paracetamol, sleeping tablets, and a bottle of sherry. And I knelt down, and I'll tell you the story. I knelt down, and I wasn't in touch with anything like the universe or God or spirit, but I knelt down, and I almost said, you know, I'm sorry I've come to this. I don't know what's the matter with me. I don't seem to be able to stop it. I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting all the people around me. Can you just let me go, please? You know. And then what happened then was miraculous, really. I felt this feeling. It was almost like something grabbed me almost and cloaked me in this feeling of peacefulness. It was the most beautiful and pleasant feeling that I'd ever had in my life, or as far as I can remember. And I do believe that that's what people call the peace that passeth all understanding. And in that moment, and I don't know how long it lasted for, but in that moment, I almost like understood everything about the universe, everything about human life and the cosmos. And I even saw a mathematical formula that explained it to me. I can't remember it now, but at the time I just knew everything, you know. And then I could feel this peace, and I thought, thank God for that. It's over. And then I started to have an epileptic fit, and I was sort of kick-started back into this life, right? And then I ended up back in the casualty department with all sorts of charcoal drips in me. And from there, I ended up back in the psychiatric department. But then something had happened to me, something had changed. And I was 8 weeks in the psychiatric department, going through intensive rehabilitation and stuff like that. And I learned that really I'd been living everybody else's life except my own life, you know. And so my Tao, as you like, is I'm trying to live an authentic life based upon how I think, what I feel, and taking personal responsibility for the whole business, you know. And when I was let out of the psychiatric department, I had a completely and utterly different mindset. Lots and lots of things happened to me. I felt this energy from inside me. It was almost like moving me to different places, you know. And I developed a sort of relationship almost with my left ear, listening into my heart. And I used to sort of ask my heart, what shall we do today? You know, and that was over 27 years ago. And every single day I've developed a sort of a routine where in the morning, as I wake up, I tap on my heart and I just say to my heart, what are we up to today? What's on the cards today? I didn't know I was going to talk about this, but this is my story. And, you know, and over the time, what happened to me was I had my scientific background, but I was led to the local further education college. And I just got this sort of big message, if you like, from inside to say, go down there now and sign up for a sports therapy course. Well, I had no idea what a sports therapy course was, you know, but I ended up going along. And in that, I learned how to do massage. I learned all about health and fitness and well-being. I was then introduced to complementary and alternative medicines. I was introduced to things like aromatherapy, reflexology, Indian head massage. And so I say spirit now because it's easier than saying source of unconditional love, which is the soul to me, you know. So spirit or God or this internal drive, it guides me every day, I believe, to improve myself, to find more and more joy within myself, and to try and live an authentic life. I don't go out to help anybody else. This is something I've realized, you know, if people get helped secondarily to the fact that I'm getting better, I think that's how it works, really. There was a time when I was like an ambulance chaser because I got such an awakening, you know. I believed like I was the second coming, really, and I could put my hands on people and I would instantaneously heal them, you know. And as I was walking through fields, flowers would grow. I was in this sort of savior complex for a while. But then I was gently lowered back to earth. And in the process, I've learned things like I've done many different forms of martial arts. Um, I've moved away from the hard stuff like Wing Chun and full combat stuff, you know, and I've come into a all that stuff. And I was introduced quite some time ago to the works of Mantak Chia, you know, Master Mantak Chia. And so I have some understanding about the, you know, bone marrow nei kung and using rattan sticks to improve tendon strength. And so I've done lots of that. And where I'm up to now is basically going deeper and deeper into the cultivation of this inner energy, this inner engineering, and this inner technology. And I love it. You know, I feel that I get guided to work on certain parts of my body. Where I am at the moment is my left hip and my left leg. So, am I all right carrying on? Have I bored you yet? Or
no,
okay,
no.
all right, yeah.
No, you're speaking my language, sir.
Okay.
You will never bore me.
Yeah.
We'll do some people in a minute, see what the audience are saying. But no, you carry on for now. I'm enjoying this.
So I've teamed up with many people across the world. I've met Todd Medina. I don't know whether you know Todd, and I've met this very strange person called Shanine Banrian, you know, and and there are so many coincidences happen in my life. But it's not just the traditional Chinese stuff, you know. There's a lot of stuff coming in now about, if you like, love, unconditional love as the root source of everything, you know. And where I'm up to now is in the field of epigenetics, yes, quantum mechanics, and where I've been taken back now is up to the Higgs field and the God particle, you know, the Higgs boson.
Yeah.
Now, Sifu, I didn't have a clue about all this stuff, but as I go deeper and deeper and deeper into meditation, it's almost like my mind expands and information drops in.
Yes.
So I don't really have time to read books now and to do that. It's almost like what happens to me is I get the information in, and then afterwards a book will come along to confirm it. So I'm not going out to search for any information anymore. It's almost like the deeper you go, the more you let go of your ego self or the bonds of the ego, the more that the information comes in because it's been there all the time. And what I've learned about drinking and addictive behaviors is it was a chemical means to open up to these realms of consciousness. But when the chemical levels went down, then the gates closed again, you see. And my view is I don't take any medication now unless I have to. I don't take drugs. I'm trying to lead as clean a life as possible. I'm not opposed to any of that stuff. People have got to they make their own choices and they learn from their own mistakes and stuff, like I've had to. And so that's where I'm up to. I still eat meat because I feel that when I'm ready to let go of that, it will be directed to me by my soul and not by my ego or by some external pressure. Because most of my life was driven by what will they think of me, and maybe I should follow them rather than follow this inner wisdom, you know. So in a nutshell, I'm learning more and more every day. I'm 64 years of age. I've just completed my 15th marathon. I swim a lot, you know. I do a lot of internal energy work. The exercises that you do, I do, you know. And to me, it's all about completely letting go of the ego self to allow a bigger self to come in and fill you up. So
yeah,
there we are. That was a large nutshell, but
that's a good nut. That's a good nut. And there's blimey, there's so many things there. I mean, yeah, you know, the whole point for. So the Tao, you know, the Tao is just a word. Tao just means the way, and every way is important. You know, is one of the biggest thing I say is the Tao means the way, the path of balance, but it's your personal way, path balance. So you know, it is that you can take bits of mine, you take bits of Joe's, you can take bits of whoever, but you ultimately need to find your path, your way, and the biggest for me, if you have not read already, The Hero's Journey. You know, there's you know, Joseph Campbell is one of the main people wrote, but there's other people who've written similar things as well. But The Hero's Journey is, if you've ever watched a Hollywood movie, you're watching the script. The basis of that script will be the hero's journey, and the hero's journey is actually something that goes all the way through time. It's the information that was found for the hero's journey was actually found through the ancient scriptures and the ancient knowledge, and our lives go through this hero's journey. And what I mean is that you hit rock bottom at some point. You have to go through these dark times, the dark time of the soul, or the dark night of the soul, and you journey through. And you know, if you're still here, firstly, if you're still alive, don't ever think, you know, I'm not important. I haven't got a purpose. If you're still alive, you have a mission. You have a purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be here. Period. You know, don't give me any other codswallop. If you're still here, it's because you've got a mission. Firstly, and everything you've been through is a lesson. If you keep going through stuff, repeating it, like, you know, the same sort of people over and over again, or same sort of situations, it's because you still haven't learned that lesson. But the whole point of everything we go through is it is something to learn and grow from. You know, so there's that, and then like, you know, the whole thing of addictive personalities. There's a lot of people. In fact, one of my friends, me and my friend today, was saying most people wouldn't possibly see it, but you know, I have an addictive personality, not in essence for alcohol or drugs, but I've always loved ice skating. I've always loved crazy stunts. I've always loved, and if I'm addicted to anything now, I'm addicted to chi, Qi Jing and Shen, which are the energies of the universe, or at least three of them. And it's the whole point for me was, what I filled that void of that addictiveness is with the Qigong, energizing exercise, Neigong, stretching exercise, and Shengung, meditation exercise. And that's become my purpose. That's become one of the things that, I flow with. And, you're, the way I'd simply say it is, Dr. Joe, you're Taoist. You found your way, you found your path. And the whole point is, which is another one of these things, we do not get trapped in the idea that things are linear. Do not get trapped in, oh yeah, I've mastered everything and I've got nothing more to learn. You're still alive. You still got something to learn. You still got something to grow. And the more you add, the more techniques you add, the more you grow, the more you flow. One of the biggest, for me, one of the biggest things that is detrimental was I'm old enough to remember the old saying of, jack of all trades and master of none. Well, jack of all trades, you're master of one, which is the all. You're learning your own individual personal balance. And for me, that was all, from the barefoot doctors of China, they learned 5 different qualities of skills they learnt, and from those 5, if you had these 5 main skills, you could in essence, you could find a combination that will help anybody. And the biggest thing for the barefoot doctors is that they actually help people to help themselves. Yeah. So it's not actually, and that thing of, when you first get into the healing realm, the first thing you learn, you think, oh my gosh, everybody's sick. And then I must heal everybody. And it's like, yeah, that's like trying to empty the ocean with a thimble. Good luck. Yeah. But then you realize, then you eventually learn is that you only really truly help people by helping yourself. When you're overflowing, you can help others, and you can only help people when they're ready when they come to you being ready for that, and you'll have people, because there's so many stories of in Reiki and in the Chinese doctors, of doctors going out, people going out and helping people, and after a couple of months, weeks, years, they come back and they help them again. A couple of months, years, a week, they come back, because until they're ready to do it for themselves, they'll always just use, they'll use other people's assistance, and you'll get stuck in this loop. So it is this thing of, it's all about personal balance, finding and don't think. The West went in about specialize, because I think in the medical profession, I think it was around about, I think it was the 1500s where they said that no one man is great, but no one man can know everything, and that's where they started creating specialists for the head, the arms, and everything else, and where the Chinese doctors, they have specialize in certain techniques, but they also know the general as well. They can help the general, but they say, oh right, okay, this thing, I can help you particularly with this or that, but it's all about homeostasis. It's all about balance.
No, I agree. I mean, where I'm up to now is we call this subtle energy medicine. And you mentioned Jing, Qi, Shen. The way I see that is that Jing, to me at least, or the way I've been taught, is initially it's a raw form where it's a cultural sort of thing that we bring through our ancestral history in our DNA. So that comes with us, whether we like that or not, and then we move. So Jing, to me, in its raw form, is instinct. It's raw instinct that's been conditioned over time. And this is where, to me at least, epigenetics comes in, that the conditioned behavior of our past almost puts layers or shields, like the onion layer that people talk about, and that actually starts to close down this raw spiritual energy. It's almost like we set that up in the world of spirit as the game that we've got. We set the prison up, and as we go along, we've got to find our own individual innate abilities to free ourselves from the prison that we set ourselves up for. So it's almost like the first half of your life you imprison yourself, and the second half of your life you use your skills and abilities to get out of the mess. So I see that Jing comes in initially, and people have different views of this, and then we move into the Chi, which to me is
Oh, we lost him. But he's there, I think, ready to come back in 3, 2, 1.
away.
But you're back. You're now back, which is all good.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, 10 years before he died, he introduced 2 more stages. So he brought a 7-stage triangle into it. And he basically believed that all humans develop through, first of all, the first stage was personal security. So that was to do with the physical body protecting itself, associated with the adrenal glands. So to me, from a chakra point of view, that's the first 2 and the first 3 chakras. And then we get to a point at a rock bottom at 3.5 where we've come to the end of our tether. We can't think our way out of stuff anymore, and life just seems like the pits. Right. And what people do is, if they go to modern medicine will not understand this progression or evolutionary route. So it tries to give them medications. I'm not knocking it, because I do believe there's some fantastic stuff goes on in medicine. My belief is that we need to work together to help people and not fight against one another. That's my view. But at 3.5, lots of people go round and round like in a groundhog circle, and they can get medication which will dull their sensation. I think that's exactly the opposite of what they need. They just need people who've been through, like yourself, right, who've been through the path a bit more, just to pull them up to the next stage and let them carry on from there then. So I see that's my sort of job, a bit like yours, is because I've been through this and I can sense this at a very deep level, almost where a person is in their stages of development. I can almost like know what they need to do next. And to me, it's all about action. As my good friend Todd Medina would say, the human is the hero, because I think that we've got to ground this by overcoming fear. Every time we step through childhood fears that are deep in our psyche, the energy of the defensiveness that we've been keeping it in place, and then floods back into our system, gives us more vitality, enhances our self-esteem and self-confidence, then we can go forward then to meet the next challenge on the hero's journey. So it's Jason and the Argonauts, it's the golden ram or the golden fleece. There's male and female equivalents to this, but in the end, I believe that the soul is androgynous. Yep, absolutely. The soul's androgynous. We have masculine and feminine within all of us. And an example of this is in menopause, female menopause, levels of estrogen go down. So relatively testosterone levels go up. So many, many women then start to grow facial hair. Their voice starts to drop and go deeper. Right, and they become much more pleasant. That last one was a joke. Now, just for the audience, that was a little joke.
I've got a hammer here. If you want to hear. I've actually got a lightsaber if you prefer. Hey. Always, a bit like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Always know where your lightsaber is. That's
absolutely. Yeah. No, so I mean, and part of my understanding now is, in order to go forward, you've got to basically cultivate an inner smile, and then that's what I've learned, is that the joy of living is so important, and that just radiating a smile anyway, just going through the physical act of smiling and breathing out, because the out breath, as you well know, is associated with the feminine, the vagal nerve, the yin, the dark, and the nurturing side of our nature. And that's what's been pushed down, really. I think over time, and a long, long time, this patriarchal system has kept the feminine in place, basically. And I think with the shift of 2012 and 21st of December, I think the sacred feminine is making a comeback, but in a nurturing and gentle way, you know. And my view is that more and more people are tuning into programs like this. They're starting to feel the movements within their own body as their body starts to wake. And I think, in my own experience, when you have a spiritual awakening, that's only the beginning. And I think that we need to cultivate that's very raw awakening. And I think over time, if we can help people to get in touch with a more refined and more subtle energy, then they'll understand at depth what human nature is all about. Because to me, to be human is to be divine. You know, it's that combination of both, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that sort of coincides with your feelings and beliefs.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, one of the things I say a lot now is about the whole, with the Tai Chi. I mean, some call this the yin yang, but in actual fact, it's Tai Chi because the yin yang is opposing opposites, half a black circle, half a white. Tai Chi is actually about combining them together. What we're in now from 2012, it's all about the complementary opposites. So the whole thing, that's the divine feminine, which is the yin, the divine masculine, which is the yang. When you blend them together, when you blend your two sides together, because it is within all of us, is that courage, that strength, that courageousness. It is in essence a yang, but that nurturing, that loving, that kindness, that they are also the yin. And when you blend them both together, whether you're male or female, you get that divine, and that's what you should be. You should be get the qualities of both and not just one. So you put that across beautifully. I did say we're going to fire up some comments. So we got Carla saying, "Hi Sifu." The mighty Shanine, she says, "Myself and my husband and my mother-in-law are here." Is that the see my dyslexia's kicking in. Is that the Molans?
The Moulins.
See, I wanted to say the Moulins because Moulin was if you've ever watched the Disney, Moulin was a female Japanese, female Chinese warrior. Sorry, Moulin was but it had a D on the end. So even better, Shanine, your name is a female Chinese warrior. Have you not watched Disney? But anyway,
there'll be no living with her now.
I think that's too late anyway. I think she's already in. Since I've started teaching her Kuan Yin, I think she's gone very much into Qigong, and she's very much hooked and in love with Qigong. I can tell you that. I think already, and we've only just started on that journey. But it's all good in the hood. So Joanne is saying listening in Pensby. So that's up north, isn't it? If I remember
it's about 2 miles away from where I live.
Oh, there you go. So and Ria's saying I've just done 20 minutes of Qigong. I've been reading Bruce Lipton all day. I'm a good student. Haha. Yes, you are indeed. Bruce Lipton. So free. That's the thing you said. I want to quickly reiterate that is like where you saying like now books or information they actually are more like signposts, or they confirm what you're looking at. And a lot of what I learned from my Sifus, that's exactly what quantum physics, what the epigenetics, so Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Nissan Harriman, those in particular for me are, when I started looking at their work, it's like, right, yep. That goes back to that. And it's those, that's, one of the things I say is everyone and everything is your Sifu. Everything is a guide and muse. Even your hardships, they are teachers, they are muses. It's just how you see it. If you take it as a whack on the head, it will teach you eventually. But you take that that information from that hard time. I've learned this. I've learned how and redirect things. That everything is a guide. Everything. Even your ego when in spiritual terms they talk about monkey mind, and you must destroy monkey mind. I always say you can't destroy monkey mind because it's like it's one half of this. You can't. It's like destroying half your body. You know what? Are you a fool? You know it is part of you. You know it is the yin and the yang is part of you. And the whole thing of monkey mind, like that ego, the forebrain, is that in meditation when you draw yourself back from the forebrain. You don't get lost in those 60 to 90,000 thoughts that medically they say we have every single day. When you start listening the monkey mind as a guide, if it's telling you, don't go and do qigong, go and sit and watch TV or go and veg out, and it's like, well, actually, maybe I should do the opposite. And with intuition is more, that's the one you do have to listen to, and that's the one. Well, you have to be very quiet to listen. So that's the point of meditation. But for me, meditation doesn't mean you have to sit there on a mountain going om. That's a meditation, but watching a stream, going and doing a bit of qigong, or going for a cycle, going for a walk and just observing, drawing things in, washing the dishes, sewing, fishing. They're all if you do them as you focus on one thing and allow everything else just to dissolve, so forget everything else, that is what a meditation truly is. And it's one of these things in our society. We try to flower it up and make it look all mystical, scary, and you don't have to really. Meditation is as simple as doing your favorite hobby, or even doing something you don't enjoy particularly, but doing it in a mindful way. So like I said, washing in Shaolin Temple, they would meditate by sweeping the floor. They would meditate by doing the crops. That to them is meditation. And when you realize that, everything, for me, everything changed. The whole perception of what a meditation, you can be doing a meditation simply by your journey onto work and observing people, because and look at and it's just by learning, it's knowing that nothing has to be as complicated as we make it. And yes, you have lots of things, and you can learn, but you go through the flow of that, and find your own personal way or Tao.
I think what you mentioned, my research showed that the hemispheres of the brain, the way they operate or cooperate with one another or not, impacts directly on the way the heart works. So most of us are in a state of what's called accentuated antagonism, where we can't make a decision and we jump from one hemisphere to the next. That creates an incoherent state at the level of the heart, which causes all sorts of problems. And what people like Bruce Lipton talk about, and Greg Braden and Nassim Haramein and Fridtjof Capra and all these people, they're all talking, in the Tao of Physics, they're talking about ways where the breath can intervene. And this is what Buddha said, just become aware of your breathing. And what I found in my research was that if you can use a positive emotion and you can put your hands on your heart and just feel your hands touching your heart and just breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. If you can practice that, Sifu, 3 10-minute sessions a day in a quiet place, away from the world and all its lunacy, what's been shown in mindfulness and the neuroscience of mindfulness is we reconstruct neural pathways into better habits. We become more emotionally calm, we can think clearer, and we can make better choices. It really is that simple. And these techniques practiced over time have saved my life. They help me to make better choices. Am I completely and utterly sane? Absolutely not, right? I've got a long, long way to go, but I've never felt more well. I've never felt more fulfilled. I've never felt more grounded. And, joy, most of my life is filled with a deep inner joy that I never thought I'd be able to experience, So I'm just saying to the people who may be listening, what you're looking for is under your nose. It's not out there. It's just 6 inches below your nose. And it's all to do with breathing and stuff like that. And one more thing, sorry for going on, but one of my teachers said to me, in order to stop the monkey mind, he said, listen behind, you know.
Mm.
And what I do is I focus at a point 6 inches away from the center of the back of my head, from the occipital lobe, and I try and intently listen to that. And what happens is almost instantaneously, the mind calms down, you know. So there's a little tip for some people.
Mm. Excuse me, Shanine. Yeah. So what she thinks is normally she can't stop me talking. And it's like, no, I do let people talk. You know, it all depends on the flow, and it all depends. You know, it all depends on the way it's going. But it's all good in the hood, and yeah, indeed. I mean, that whole thing about the monkey mind is that most people are so much in that forebrain, so much, focusing on exactly what's in front of them. It's Bruce Lee once said, it's like a finger pointing towards the moon. Do not look at the finger because you'll miss all that heavenly glory. And then he smacks you on the back of the head. But I'm not there to do that. But so it's being aware, and it's just learning to do things in a different way, and that's what's so cool. This is such a cool conversation indeed. So let's have a quick look. See if there's any more ganging up on me. How rude! Would never gang up on you at all, Shanine. I don't know what you're talking about. So there's smiley faces. Happy solstice. It is the solstice. I was actually down at Brighton this morning, just by magic, and then got back for this afternoon. So I saw a bit of the sunlight or the dawn at Brighton, which is always good. I'm not noticing all this next time. We're both under my charge. Oh right. So apparently, Joe, next time Shanine's going to come on and she's going to be boss.
Okay.
She's going to be boss off. And somebody actually said about 100 years ago about women were healers. In actual fact, the barefoot doctors, which in the UK or in the West, that name actually Stephen Russell. He's actually been on the show before. He calls himself the barefoot doctor, but he himself says that traditionally in China, barefoot doctors, even the dragon dog shamans, well, there were a lot more. The majority were actually women because of the Kuan Yin, the divine feminine energy in that aspect. They could very much tune into that a lot more. So yeah, and even within our culture, there's like interesting things like the whole thing about the witch. The witch, one of the things of the witch was actually they were brewers. The whole thing, and they brewed the beer, and and there was herbal beers that were for healing or whatnot. So it's manipulation of facts, but there's that old saying that history is always manipulated by the winner. By the person who wins or controls the information. That's the information you get to hear about. So you don't always hear about the truth. Yes.
I think on that note, I think the more we go into the subtle feeling, the more discernment we get, the more that we can pick out easily what's an energy of truthfulness and what isn't really. And what I've learned is not to fight against what's gone on before, is just not to give it any energy, because if we all stop giving it energy, it will die away of its own. And so if we turn the other cheek, as was once said, and look in the direction of creating something new and beautiful based on heart centricity, then it's bound to be a better place than we're in now, and that's another thing. Can I just say one thing, Sifu? I'm sorry to butt in again, but on the breathing one, the in 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you actually touch your fingers on your left arm, right, and as you breathe in, you draw it in 2, 3, 4, 5, and then stop, and then gently brush it back out again. So it's almost like the first bit collects any tension that's in the body, and so that's the in breath. So that's more sympathetic involvement. As you then brush it out, you're almost like cleansing the body. But what this does is it moves away from, it brings in the kinesthetic, the touchy-feely aspect, which is so important, because most of us have lost sensitivity of our body's awareness. And I help to teach parents of autistic children and people who've got Asperger's syndrome. And what tends to happen is it brings them back into the body then, and they get much more groundedness, you know. And kids with so-called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, you know, which I think is a completely different thing, but we'll not go there. But this brings them back into a grounded state so that they're not so hyper as well. So that's something that breathing and touching and all those sort of things can all be combined to get a more coherent flow, really. There we are.
No, 100% agree, because you know, my teachers, my Sifus were actually you know, they worked in military organization, they worked in diplomatic organizations, and they actually worked in the private organizations. And it's interesting. Well, that is one of the first things I was taught by my Sifu was, before, I still think it's a corny way of saying it, but they used to say, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. Yeah. So the whole idea is that you learn the healing techniques. And it's interesting. I mean, it still hasn't changed much even today. Like back in the 90s, 98% of UK residents have never had a massage. And I think it may be about 95 now, you know, but you know, it's like there's the 95, and I think it's still something like, I think it was, the last time I checked, it was 84% of people still don't get regular hugs, you know, don't get, and you know, this connection is like super freaking important. You look in the animal kingdom, you know, the interconnection, the stroking and you know, caring of each other, is a regular. And one thing, you know, in a positive way, but the play fighting as well, but you know, in a positive way, of, you know, finding ways to interact is so important to our health, so important to our mind, body, you know, as Drag Dog Shaman, it's all mind, body, spirit. It's all that physical, emotional, and spiritual connection. And yeah, you know, that thing of, and you know, I've had many students. I'm dyslexic with a slight hint of autism myself, and working with dyslexic, dyspraxic, autistic children as well. You know, this learning to allow, you know, teaching them to actually massage themselves, and teaching it as a qigong, because you know this. Because they're so closed off, is that firstly, if you can get them to do it to themselves, they're more likely to actually allow somebody else to touch them, and then, or you know, get their, teach their parents. So, well, actually, you should, you know, yes, there is that thing of getting the permission and seeking that balance, which is what this is all about. But it's that whole thing of that interconnection is so vitally important, because it's actually, you know, massage and caring for yourself is that feminine, is that divine feminine. Because when you don't actually look after your own self, or you don't even, you get sore back and you're not even like rubbing your own shoulders, you're not activating the, you know, the chemicals within the body that would actually allow healing. You know, those muscles are stopping the simplest way my teachers would say that muscle tension, or tension in your body, is blockage. It's stopping the flow. So just a simple massage would actually help increase the blood flow. And then that's like physical massage. Then the massage of, you know, finding things that make you laugh and finding things that inspire you, that's emotional massage or internal massage, which then encourages the blood flow as well. And it's the again with the Bruce Lipton, the whole thing of I love that one of his books, I think it's the love one, about, you know, being in love, and the whole thing of when you love somebody, when you have a rubbish life, or a rubbish job, and a rubbish surroundings, and your rubbish way to work, but suddenly you fall in love, all that seems a little less rubbish, you know, all that seems a little less thing, you know, a little less stressful, or a little less irritable. And it's like, well, if that happens when you fall in love, that love feeling you can generate yourself. That love, you know, finding those things that make you smile, finding those things, you know, even, yes, we all got to do 9 to 5 jobs, or we all got to find a way to live, doesn't mean you can't find your passion. doesn't mean you can't find other ways to, to make you smile. That inner smile you talked about, which is so vitally important. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I love the spiritual stuff. I love the Taoist stuff, but also for a lot of people, you got to take away some of that floweriness and just put it to logic and put it to that, when you're more relaxed, your body works better, quite simply. And one of the biggest things with, again, bringing back Bruce Lipton, is that whole thing of our society focuses on stress and tension and worry and fear, and all those naturally activate your, let's say, your cave person or your ancient genetics of fight or flight. And so your body shuts down, and it shuts down preparing for fight or flight. So it pumps the adrenals and it gets you ready for fight or flight. And while you're in that mode, so while you're tense and while you're nervous and looking around for the saber-toothed tiger that actually doesn't exist, because you're focusing on the fear or the stress, the worry, your body's not actually healing, and it's meant to freaking self-heal. That's what we've lost. We think, oh, we need a doctor to do that. You can do it yourself. Your body's meant to heal. There are medical professionals out there with evidence that's showing that we're meant to actually, they say that biologically the body should be thriving up to at least 120, 150, some of them are saying, and they don't know why. Well, we know freaking why. It's because we're living in stress and fear and tension, and we're focusing on all the wrong stuff. But hey, what do I know?
Exactly. Same here.
We know nothing. We know nothing. We just plod on. We just Go for it.
I do feel that I'm only ever scratching the surface of what's underneath, though. I used to think, in my egomania, I used to think, Christ, I'm learning loads here. I'll be able to say this, and they'll all think I'm a genius and stuff, And I've come to the point now where you scratch a bit, and there's a whole load more underneath, and then you get to that, and then there's a whole load more. Never ending.
Right, I've got a question from the mighty Shanine. And I'm bringing it up to the screen now. So she says, what about emotional overwhelming then? 6 breaths in a minute. I have a sugar addiction and got a bit down earlier today. 3 magnums were medicine. I felt better, but would love some more insight on these impulses.
Yeah, it's a short-term fix, really, because when we're stressed, our conscious mind doesn't think we're stressed sometimes. There's loads going on in the unconscious. And I think the deeper we go into taking our consciousness into the unconscious, we start to be able to feel when stress and tension is kicking in. So if Shanine carries on practicing that 6 breaths per minute, at least 3 10-minute sessions a day, after about 90 days, she will have reconstructed a different pathway. But it takes some discipline. And I'm sure she's doing it. And the whole point is the thing that I found out is the greatest problem with the whole of the human race and many, many people that I've worked with is the root cause of all our problems was the original sin, which was self-doubt and self-criticism. And that's the thing is we need to learn to love ourselves from the core of our being. And in order to do that, I honestly believe we need to go from the external, right, all the way through our muscles, into our visceral organs, into our bone marrow, into our DNA, and that's our personal stuff done. And then we move then into our cultural stuff then, and then we have to let go of the fears of our ancestors, and then we have to go further back then, and we go multicultural, and we go nationwide, and from nations we go to internations until we've actually gone right back through the whole of humanity to the beginning, to the original smiling face. And I think it's probably going to take some time to do that. But in that process, we'll learn to expand more and more until we come to full enlightenment, which is a complete and utter absolute let go of everything. So I would say you mustn't knock yourself for having a Magnum,
No.
especially if you're one of those nutty ones. They're very pleasant. So let yourself off the hook, right?
Yes.
And you know, it's just practice, Shanine. And as I say, I only feel like I'm just starting, but there's always like something else that clicks into place, and I think, there you go, you know. So yeah, don't knock yourself, because that's the biggest trap, is that we knock ourselves and we whip ourselves, you know, with the judgments. And I heard a lovely phrase that says complete freedom means when we've completely freed ourselves from judging ourselves. When judgment is gone completely, then we're free, you know.
Because for me, that judgment is the loop. It will always, if you break yourself, it will keep you going, because you'll feel guilty, and then from that guilt, then you want more sugar, or you want more whatever it is that you need. And it's the whole idea of actually replacing. Now, you know, the 6 breath method is awesome, but I know you're hooked on a certain qigong, and you know, and it will, you know, give it time. You know, whatever it is, find it, do it in a mindful way. And the whole point of mindfulness is, you know, is allowing yourself to be absorbed in that technique. And you know, the breath technique is awesome. You know, anything that is a whole, you know, you using the whole body. So the one thing I do with the breath, that breath technique as well, is actually expand and contract the body. So, you know, so you, and as you know, feel yourself expanding, and then, you know, that pause, you allow things to settle. And then as you breathe, the breathing out, one of the things in the Taoism is that the breathing out, so the yin breath, the breathing out, is actually the more important one, because if you breathe out enough, you'll have to breathe in, you know, because that is the natural cycle. What we're taught is to breathe in and hold your breath. You know, like how many times you'll see people panic and they're holding their breath, and when you hold the breath and holding that tension, there are techniques that you know, the Wim Hof. So mighty Robin McKenzie mentioned Wim Hof. Now, when you do hold breath holding in a certain way, it creates fire, creates energy, and you can heat up the body, or you can store great amounts of energy. You can go through Sahara Desert and you know, not need a drink, because you can store energy in a certain way. But what you have to be careful of is too much tension in the wrong way. It creates the issues that we have. So it's learning to do it in the right way, and flowing. And so for a lot of people, for me, is not so much on the holding the breath, is for learning to that breathing and breathing out, and to allow things to flow. And the inner smile is also all about relaxation as well. So for, you know, if qigong is your thing, that will help you. That will definitely help you on the path, especially if you know somebody who teaches it in a way that's balanced. So it's the stretching the body, or energizing the body, stretching the body, stretching the mind, stretching the spirit, energizing the body, energizing the mind, energizing the spirit. That's sort of called qigong, neigong, and shengong. But the true magic is that you can have they just words. And, you know, there's techniques behind the words. Learn the techniques. Don't worry about the words. Learn the techniques, and you know, make it simple. And, you know, you can have a couple of exercises, and you can cover it all, or you can have one exercise and cover it all. You can have 1 billion exercises and cover it all. Whatever floats your boat, as long as you find what floats your boat and let your boat float. You know, enjoy it, go with it, and that's the important thing. Whether it's the 6 breath, whether it's eating a banana, whether it's the 2 magnums per day. One of my Sifus used to say, we had a student who liked being, you know, or would always be moaning and whinging. So if you're going to moan and whinge, enjoy it. Be with it. Go, you know, actually enjoy it. You know, don't tell yourself off. Whatever you're doing, Taoistically, whatever you're doing, as long as you love it and you enjoy it and you're happy with it, then you'll be one with your body. But if you punish yourself, the punishment is what keeps you in that loop and holds in the tension and stops you from thriving and keeps you in survival mode rather than thrival mode.
Yeah,
but hey,
I agree, and I think even as children, education focuses on weaknesses and not strengths,
Mm.
and I'm trying to help at an early age now, movement therapies, and also this I am approach that I've developed. It's an asset based approach where parents look out for the natural closing kids down, and it's really stopping their joy from a very, very early age onwards,
Mm.
and what I like is the waving hands in clouds. We try and show kids this, and to try and get the feeling of drawing their hands through the mist of the clouds, and kids pick this up, absolutely, and other things is I've developed with a local Sifu in Tai Chi Qigong, and we've done this Fu Shen Tai Chi Qigong, which is the god of happiness, and it's to describe a heart really. And it was a bit like the one that you practice, is the change hands and up and open,
Mm.
but it describes the heart, and then it draws it back into the heart with the in breath, and then it gives all that love out to the universe then. And then from there, then it's down to Mother Earth, a bit like, the 8 pieces of silk where you draw up from the earth. It brings it back up then and starts the whole process again. So it's quite a simple technique, but we can bring the breath in, we can bring the movements in, and we can bring the feeling in, and it's relatively easy to learn really. So that's what we're trying to do up north here, to try and bring it all in. So to get people to ground themselves, to do the shaking hip ones and that willow thing and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
then to try and draw that in, get a really deep sense of the energy being radiated out then, So I think more and more people are getting into this. They're getting into yoga, aikido, tai chi, exercise, all physical stuff, but understanding the importance of breath work.
That's the key. And I mean, because you've obviously, so on the Akashi Academy, which I'm part of, you saw the whole thing of the willow tree qigong,
Yeah.
the hula hoop and shaking the body, shake the body, water fitness. These are really simple exercises. They're not rocket science. I love Tai Chi. Don't get me wrong. But Tai Chi is a whole set of exercises
Yeah.
and takes a while to learn. The mastery of Qigong it's like an app. It's very, very simple. I mean, in actual fact, Shanine is one of my students, and I was doing the Qigong, and there's a family one called Shun, or it's Meridian Charger, but we know it's Shun or Shundao, and some kids turned up on the private lesson. There's a couple of kids that turned up, and suddenly, folks, looking, trying to copy. So okay then, and so Shanine actually saw it. It's actually on my group that we started doing Shun with his kids, and kids like
Yeah.
That's the thing. Kids pick it up so quickly. I've done exercises with kids that have taken adults, and some adults, a good couple of weeks to pick up, and they're because of the whole thing again with the Bruce Lipton about up to the age of, well, he says 7. My teacher's always said 9, but up to the age of between 7 and 9. Yeah, the brain is like a sponge, and it draws in so much information, and this is actually why, like in Canada, in the ice skating world and in martial arts, they start them off about 4 years old, because they'll pick it up so quickly and they absorb it so quickly. They learn it, and the whole point of in the States, I know we're sort of catching up. But I know in the States they do a lot of in the schools now doing meditation and doing, instead of, I mean, I'm not sure I agree with the whole they do meditation in detentions, but I do it for the whole school, not just for the so-called naughty kids. But it's it's the whole point of is they're learning these techniques and learning that you actually have. It's this weird thing within the Qigong, the Taoist arts and Tai Chi, is you learn to control yourself, or you learn these techniques, and then once you learn them, you actually learn to forget them, or
Absolutely.
You learn to do them as automatic things. So, it just becomes like brushing your hair or getting dressed or tying up your shoelaces. And when you get to that level, it goes on to the subconscious. And when it gets to the subconscious, it reprograms your brain, because over, again, I think it's 80 to 90% or 95% of your the things you do in a day are on the subconscious level. And it's the reprogram that is the big key. And I love, watching the whole Bruce Lipton thing as well. And he says, he's got a system he uses, but he also says Qigong does it, yoga does it, Tai Chi does it. And it's this reprogram the mind. And, we get back to, obviously we need it as adults, but also if you're teaching your kids, you're teaching the future generations. So this big cycle, this loop I'm talking about, we'll kill it. We'll change it, or rephrase, we'll change it from now, getting the kids involved, is that they means with the time they get to, 20, 30, 40, that it'll be now normal, natural to them, rather than like us adults going, I'm not sure about that, or not sure, that's the way we change these cycles, these repeats, is by bringing this information in from the kids and bringing it into the future. But hey, what do I know? So, okay, let's have a quick look of a couple more things, and then I think we'll wrap up. The mighty Robin McKenzie, one of our former co-hosts, or co-host still, when he's about, and also been guest on the show as well, says loads of things are affected, but if you are not regular, they won't work continuously. Yeah, it's all about finding that practice. Well, as we said, it's finding a practice that you enjoy. You've got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, there's no point doing it. But you find something that, so whether it is yoga, whether it's Qigong, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's knitting, as long as it's bringing you joy, as well as helping you actually relax and let go of stuff, because for me that's the most important thing, is that if you hold all that tension in, you'll just get ill. And that's why we have so many issues we do, because people are holding all that tension in, and when you physically hold it in, it affects you emotionally, which affects you spiritually. And that it's all about finding that balance. So, and then Nico was talking about his master, Nicholas, and Chen style, or any style is good. Is the true, even in the Tai Chi classics, they say, as long as it adheres to the classics, and what they mean by the classics is the Tai Chi checklist. So as long as it keeps the energy flowing, and as long as it relaxes the body, it doesn't matter whether it's Chen style, Yang style, banana style, core blimey, this is hard style, whatever style it is, as long as it works for you and as long as it's doing its job, they're all good. They're all good. That's what my Sifu has taught me, is that styles are only as good as you let them be. You've got to find what best works for you. So, is there anything? There's a few more messages, but we'll just play two more. So, Gail says, we do breathing exercises in a chill axe session at preschool. They love it. Yeah, I know those kids really do. They really do get this. They get it far more than adults, but they are little Sifus after all. Shanine says, great work, you two. Thank you so very much. You're more than welcome. And finally, Mike. Yes. They're all together now. That one's for Shanine. And then Mike says, no, don't get me wrong. Sorry, what do you do with your consciousness? Where do you put your energies? Okay, did I miss something? Let's have a quick look. But what do we do with it? Where's the other one from him? So, what do you do with your consciousness? Your consciousness is your focus. So, so the subconscious, it runs everything in the background unless you draw it to your focus. So, the whole thing of meditation is when you're focusing on one thing and forgetting everything else. You're focusing your consciousness on creating that reality, creating things in that certain way. If you don't focus, for me, and how my teachers taught it, and what Bruce Lipton's saying as well, is that if you don't have something in your conscious mind and you're running in your subconscious, whatever your subconscious patterns are, routines, they're going to be what rules your life. So if your subconscious patterns from your childhood was negativity, that's what's going to be running the main process. Do you agree with that? Do you understand?
Yeah. What I feel is, as the years have gone on, I've sort of sunk deeper, if you like, into my unconscious. It's associated with feelings. So consciousness and feelings go together. And after a while, you start to become detached and become an observer of your thoughts and of your feelings as well. So, if you can see them, you can't be them in actual fact, So there's a stage where you just become a sort of a member of the audience, where you're sort of watching your own life going on as Joe Delaney, but there's a sort of a watcher behind this. And he can decide, or it can decide, whether it wants to consciously intervene and change the path, or just let the play go on, really. That's my feeling. So most of the time I'm in this sort of state of neutrality, a balanced neutrality, and then I decide whether I want a tea or coffee. It's difficult to explain in words, as I say. If you can, the Tao that can be explained is not the Tao,
Yeah.
But once you've felt it and sensed it, you really don't need to explain it to anybody else, because that they understand that. But what I'm saying is, you can store the energy. You can mindfully move the energy around your body, as in Iron Shirt Qigong, and you can actually compress your bone marrow, and you can leave it there for when it's required. And people, lots of people who practice this, they put weight on and stuff, because fat to me is potential creativity. It's potential energy waiting to be changed into creativity. So to answer the question simply, you just get to feel, and you just get to know what to do with it based upon a deeper understanding.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's actually a shame Shanine's not on, because, so the Dragon Dog Reiki, with that, you use your conscious mind. It's not just about feeling the energy, you're sending the energy. It's a physical thing, it's an emotional thing. So when I blast somebody with energy, they almost physically feel themselves not knocked back. And science actually can explain that, because the whole point of energy is that there is a physicalness to that energy. It does come out in waves through the biometric field of the heart, which is actually what the ancient ones call the Torah, as well as the chakras and everything else. You can feel that. We talk about people, when a certain person walks in the room, the room lights up. You feel that energy, and that's energy is far more tangible than people think. It's that, going back to the Tao, that can be explained. It's very hard to explain this stuff, but the whole point is that energy is far more. We are all energy. Everything is vibration. We're all interconnected, and we're sort of told that that stuff, that's not tangible. But science knows it's tangible. Otherwise science wouldn't have blind case studies, because they know that the observer affects the experiment, affects the reality. That started all the way back in the 1900s. We know that things are a lot more our consciousness can affect energy. We are energy, and our consciousness affects energy. But it's this play, the yin and the yang, subconscious and conscious. And it's about learning that one is in the lead or the other one's in the lead. And it's learning, when you program or change your subconscious in a positive way, that if you just go with the flow, that stream will lead you in a glorious way. It will lead you. So, because the whole thing my teachers used to teach about your consciousness, or you are like a boat. And when you focus on certain thing, that's you rowing the boat. And the true Wu way, the do little and everything is done, is that you should just do little. You focus a little bit on that intent. I want you to go this way, and then let everything else happen automatically. Go with the flow. And spontaneous qigong. So eventually you learn all these techniques, and then you go through different ones all the time, and that helps this spontaneous nature. It allows you to, and that's the true, but this is called, you see that spontaneous nature in dance, you see it in art, you see it in music, especially like jazz. This going with the flow, allowing yourself to play. True play is being spontaneous. True play is allowing yourself to build that energy up, release that energy in whatever way you need to release it, and allow it to do its job. And like you, very quickly, one last thing, that iron qigong you talked about, though, one of the biggest things in martial arts is the three M's: medical, martial, and meditational. And martial is only a tiny little cherry on top of that cake. The truth is the meditational side of martial arts, and it's the medical, the self-healing side of martial arts. That same fighting that you could use to protect yourself or to fight somebody with, you use that same energy to heal your body. Use that same energy to complete your mission, to do whatever it is you want to do. And that's what it's all about. You have so much energy in your body that Nissan Harriman talks about a cup full of space. A cup full of you could actually, there's so much energy in that cup full of space itself, those atoms, that it could evaporate all the oceans of the planet. You're more than a cup you're more than a pint. So imagine how much energy you have inside you. And Taoistically, actually, it's limitless, because you can increase. There is no limit to how much energy you can actually draw into yourself. That's just your starting point. But as any good Sifu should say, hey, what do I know? So is there anything else you want to finish off with before we wrap up totally?
No, I've enjoyed this immensely. It's my stuff. I love it. I love talking to other people who understand it as well. And I think my purpose is just to share my experience, my strength, and my hope with other people who may be going through stuff, and help them to realize that what they're looking for is not out there, it's in here. So it's to come out of the head into the heart and go deep into the heart. Yeah. Because my view is, if you get the balance right, the two sides of the heart open, and then the soul, where all the wisdom is, comes up to meet you. And that's it. So thanks very much, Sifu. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great. I've loved this immensely. It's been a great pleasure. We'll definitely love to do this again in the future. One thing I forgot to before we did the show, what do you have a website? Do you have, what's your shows? What are your shows? What are your podcasts?
Yeah, I think I'm being sort of guided to put myself out there a bit more, because I've spent such a lot of time in academia, but now they're starting to call me a scientist, a shaman, and a showman, right? And I like that, because I can do science if I need to. I can do spirituality if I need to. But my view is to bring it together with a sensible, balanced focus to try and get the message across, really. So if people want to find out, if they just go on to drdjoedelaney.com, there's some links in there. I'm working on the website, but I'm hoping over the summer to maybe have a few sort of spontaneous Zoom calls where anybody who's knocking about can come in and we can have a bit of a chat like this and stuff.
Awesome. I'm just quickly, let's just do it this way. Everybody else can sort of get the gist. But so Dr. Delaney, Dr. Joe
Delaney, DELANEY.com.
Is that with the Joe or without the Joe?
Yeah, it's with the Joe. So it's DRJOEDELANEY.com. And on there's some links to the I Am Approach YouTube channel with talks on. It's like everything else, I do a lot in the day, but there's just not enough time to do everything that's trying to come out, really. And I know you know what I mean by that.
Oh yeah, yeah, but it's a whole drip, drip, drip. You know,
Yeah.
is for everybody. It's all about, you know, like Joe himself. You know, I've been doing this for a heck of a long time. Don't it's too hard. I started with one exercise, then I added another, then I added another.
Yeah.
Then 37 years later, I've got what I've got, and I studied philosophy, theology, quantum physics, medical, anatomy, different healing techniques, but it all starts from one thing, and you have to build it up, and that's what it's like a child. Think of your single little steps. Think of, you build it up a little bit at the time. Don't get lost on the big whole goal. Start with the one thing. Okay, so thank you so much. I've enjoyed this absolutely immensely. So as I've sort of put on here very quickly, so it's drjoedelaney.com. You can find the mighty doc this way. If on my stuff, if you're interested in what I do, you can find me on www.sifuboggie.com. I'm also in one of the groups called the Coaches and Healers Sangha, which Sangha means gathering, and it's by the mighty Coach Nick, who's also been on the show, and it is for coaches and healers, especially looking for techniques to build up their business to help and heal others. And Coach Nick is very much a spiritual guru, as well as actually being a sales guru. So he teaches you techniques to help you talk to people, because if you're a healer and a coach, that's what you should be doing, is talking to people. So he helps teach you and guide you. And I actually teach on there is Qigong, Qigong Fu. The Fu bit means hard work or practice. So the whole idea is to give you the techniques to give you boundless energy, so you can keep going like me and be a madman. And then one other one as well is the Mighty Akashic Academy, which is sort of like Gaia on Facebook. There's the Akashic Academy Network. There are many different hosts on there, with many different wonderful shows. I've actually got a couple on there now. I do the Way of the Dragon Dog Shaman, which is sort of the Chinese style of Reiki and beyond. And as well as just on Thursday, I started a new show, which is Tai Chi Dao, which is basically a mixture of Tai Chi techniques and Qigong techniques. And the whole idea is to give you techniques and give you abilities to supercharge yourself and ensure that you never burn out. So thank you so much, Joe, for this wonderful show. Don't disappear just yet, but everybody else, I hope you enjoyed the show. We do have a show on this Sunday, which is, I think it's Carol Noonan. She's coming back on the show, and she wants to talk about the Palladians. So asking questions from the Palladians. So if you're interested in that, come back. I think it's 7:30 UK time, which Eastern is 2:30 in the afternoon. So otherwise, I'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from the mighty Joe, Dr. Joe. It's goodbye from myself. Take care, guys. See you later. Until next time, love, chi, and shen from Joe, myself, and the Way of Conscious Mindfulness. Bye, guys, for now. Oh, no, press that one. Oh, yeah, that's it. Bye, guys.